Yet beneath this veneer of peace, the threads of an ancient threat stirred once more. Elin stood at the threshold of the grand guild house, her eyes sharp and unyielding. Around her, the banners of the new order fluttered silently, symbols of unity born from sacrifice and struggle. But even as the kingdom breathed a tentative sigh of relief, whispers carried on the wind spoke of betrayal and fractured loyalties. Elin's thoughts drifted back to the message that had brought her hither, cryptic warning from a trusted informant who had glimpsed shadows moving within the guild's ranks. The past was unraveling, it seemed, frayed at the edges by those who refused to accept the revolution. Master Corvain, once a respected elder, now a man shrouded in suspicion, had surfaced again, his ambitions masked by layers of charm and menace. Alongside him lurked the enigmatic whispering shade, a figure from the darkest chapters of fabric magic's history, whose very presence twisted the air with unease. With Mira at her side, Elin descended into the labyrinthine ruins beneath the city, where the ancient stones hummed with latent power. Each step echoed through the hollow corridors, the air thick with dust and the faint scent of forgotten enchantments. Threads of magic, invisible to most, fluttered in the darkness, a delicate web connecting past and present. Myra's hand brushed against Elin's, a silent reassurance as they navigated the treacherous paths. Their pursuit led them to a hidden chamber, walls lined with relics of the old guilds and tapestries woven with sigils long thought lost. Here, the conspirators had begun their work anew, attempting to revive forbidden fabric magics that could rend the kingdom apart. Elin's heart pounded as she confronted Master Corvain, whose cold smile betrayed his unwavering conviction. "You think peace can be stitched from lies and half-truths?" he challenged, voice low and measured. "The old order must be restored. Only through the ancient ways can true power be reclaimed." Elin's response was steady, her voice carrying the strength forged from countless battles. "Power built on oppression is but a fragile weave. I stand for a future where magic is freedom, not control." The chamber trembled as the whispering shade emerged, a shadow among shadows, their voice a haunting susurration. The ensuing clash was fierce, fabric magic twisting into blades of light and shadow, weaving a dance of destruction and creation. Elin drew deeply on her heritage, the legacy of the Threadwrights pulsing within her veins, unraveling the dark enchantments with every measured gesture. When silence finally fell, the conspirators lay defeated, their ambitions undone. But victory came at a cost. In the quiet aftermath, Elin found herself alone by the ancient loom, its threads glowing softly in the dim light. Memories, surged faces of ancestors, moments of loss and hope entwined in the tapestry of her lineage. Could the past truly be laid to rest? Or would the frayed edges of history continue to unravel the piece she had fought so hard to weave? Elin's resolve hardened. The fabric of the kingdom depended on it, and she would guard it with every thread of her being. As dawn crept over Loomhaven, the city stirred awake, unaware of the battles waged in shadows. Yet beneath the surface, a new strength blossomed, a promise that the legacy of the Threadwrights would endure. Woven into the very heart of the Kingdom of Threads, Elin entered the chamber, the weight of every eye upon her, each gaze a mixture of skepticism, hope, and cautious anticipation. The fractured factions of the Kingdom Guild leaders, fringe tailors, and foreign diplomats had converged under her summons, drawn by the promise of unity and the fragile dream of peace. Guildmaster Silas, his stoic demeanor barely concealing the undercurrents of old distrust, sat at one end of the long oak table. Across from him, Mara, representing the rugged fringe tailors, bore the scars of years spent surviving beyond the guild's reach. Their history was woven with conflict, and yet here they were, compelled by necessity to confront their differences. Elin took a deep breath, her hands steady despite the storm of emotions swirling within her. "We have all suffered under the weight of division," she began, her voice clear and unwavering. "But today, we have the chance to weave a new seam line, not just in our garments, but in our hearts and our future." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Elin's words carried the weight of truth, but actions, not speeches, would be the measure of her resolve. From her satchel, she drew an assortment of threads, each unique, vibrant, and symbolic of the diverse factions present. As she laid them out, the room fell into an expectant hush. Fingers nimbly danced over the threads, weaving them into a single, shimmering fabric. It was a delicate dance of magic and craftsmanship, threads tangling and aligning in harmony. The garment began to glow, a soft luminescence pulsing with the combined essence of every group represented. Gasps of awe arose as the fabric seemed to breathe, alive with possibility. "This," Elin declared, "is our unity. Each thread on its own is fragile, but woven together, we are strong beyond measure." Guildmaster Silas exchanged a glance with Mara, the hard lines of years softening. "This is unprecedented," Silas admitted. "Perhaps there is merit in this vision, after all." Mara nodded slowly. "We've fought for survival. Now, perhaps, we can fight for something greater." But old wounds did not heal so easily. Voices rose, accusations flared, and tensions threatened to unravel the fragile peace. Elin stood firm, her presence a steadying force. She reminded them of the greater threat looming over all the chaos that would reign if they failed to bind their destinies together. One by one, the representatives took pieces of the enchanted fabric, draping them over their shoulders, their hands intertwining with the threads of others. As the light in the room intensified, a palpable wave of hope and resolve swept through the assembly. The kingdom's fractured social fabric was beginning to mend. The council adjourned with a renewed sense of purpose. Yet, as Elin stepped into the fading light, she knew this was but the first stitch in a long and arduous tapestry. Old rivalries lingered like loose threads, and external enemies would test their unity. But for the first time in generations, the kingdom's future was not a single thread pulled taut with tension, but a woven masterpiece of resilience and trust. The seam line had been reforged, and with it, the promise of a new dawn. But as Elin left the hall, a shadow moved beyond the stained glass windows, watching, waiting. The true test of this fragile alliance was yet to come. Elin sat cross-legged on the wooden floor, her fingers moving with deliberate care over the glowing tapestry stretched before her. The threads pulsed faintly beneath her touch, a living pattern of light that shifted and shimmered like a constellation caught in woven silk. Around her, the walls were lined with tapestries older than any guild's memory, their images faded but still vibrant with the echoes of magic. She inhaled deeply, the air thick with the scent of aged cloth and a hint of lavender from the dried herbs hung nearby. The glow from the tapestry illuminated her face, casting soft shadows that danced with the movement of the threads. Elin's eyes narrowed as she traced a particularly intricate motif, a spiral of interlocking loops that seemed to ripple outward in waves of shimmering silver and blue. It was unlike any pattern she had seen before, and yet it resonated deeply within her, stirring a sense of recognition that went beyond the physical. "This is not merely fabric," she whispered to herself, voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and reverence. "It's a map, a pattern of something far greater." The door creaked open, and Master Callan stepped inside, his long white robes trailing behind him. His eyes, bright and sharp despite his years, settled on the tapestry with a knowing smile. "You've found the pattern emerged," he said softly, approaching her side. "Few have glimpsed it in centuries." Elin looked up, her heart pounding. "What is it? What does it mean?" Callan settled beside her, pulling from within his robes a delicate scroll, its parchment yellowed and fragile. He unfurled it with great care, revealing diagrams of complex weaves threads that looped and intersected in impossible geometries, spiraling into fractals that seemed to twist through space itself. "These are the universal weavings," Callan explained, voice low and reverent. "The Threadwrights once believed fabric magic was bound only to our world, to the guilds and the city. But the truth is far broader. These patterns reveal that fabric magic is a conduit, a living network connecting all things across realms and realities." Elin's eyes widened, absorbing the information. "So the magic we use, the garments we craft, they're part of something cosmic?" "Exactly," Callan nodded. "The threads you manipulate resonate with strands that stretch beyond our understanding. The universe itself is woven from such threads. When you alter fabric magic, you touch the very fabric of existence." A sudden breeze stirred the tapestries, and the soft hum of magic filled the chamber, as if the walls themselves breathed with this newfound knowledge. Elin felt a shiver run down her spine. The power she wielded, once a means to overthrow corrupt guilds and reshape her kingdom, now felt infinitely more profound and infinitely more fragile. Days passed as Elin pored over the ancient scrolls and tapestries, her mind expanding with the possibilities. She reached out to Niera, the fringe tailor whose mastery of forbidden weaving arts was renowned beyond the kingdom's borders. Together, they ventured to a hill overlooking Loomhaven at twilight, where the sky was a canvas of deep indigo, streaked with stars that twinkled like scattered gems. "Look," Niera said softly, pointing to the horizon where faint, luminous threads seemed to stretch outward, weaving through the darkness in delicate filaments. "These are the cosmic weaves, the strands that connect our world to others." Elin gazed in awe, feeling the hum of fabric magic resonating in her bones. "It's like the entire universe is stitched together," she breathed. Niera smiled, eyes reflecting the starlight. "And we are but humble weavers, guardians of the pattern. The challenge is to protect this delicate tapestry from unraveling." That night, as Elin lay beneath a canopy of stars, a sudden vision overcame her. She saw the threads of the world vibrate in unison, a symphony of light and energy weaving through time and space. The patterns pulsed with life, intertwining destinies and fates beyond mortal comprehension. She felt herself entwined within this cosmic fabric, a thread among countless others, fragile yet vital. When she awoke, breathless and humbled, Elin knew that her journey was no longer confined to the politics and struggles of Loomhaven. She was now a guardian of a universal weave, tasked with understanding its mysteries and protecting its harmony. But questions lingered: what dangers lurked beyond the known patterns? Were there forces seeking to unravel the cosmic fabric for their own ends? And how far must she go to safeguard the threads that bind all things together? Determined, Elin rose, the weight of destiny settling on her shoulders like the softest yet strongest cloak. The pattern had emerged, and with it, a new chapter in her quest to journey beyond the kingdom into the uncharted realms of fabric, magic, and the very essence of existence. As dawn broke over Loomhaven, the city stirred, unaware of the vast web of magic now awakening around it. The threads of the universe awaited their weaver, and Elin was ready to follow where they led into mysteries old as time itself and futures yet unwoven. The adventure was far from over. it was only just beginning. It was as if the very fabric of the cosmos had been unraveled and rewoven into a gateway, beckoning her forward. Her heart pounded with a mixture of trepidation and exhilaration. Beyond this veil lay the unknown, the source of the magic that had shaped her world and now threatened to shatter it. With a deep breath, she stepped through. The moment her foot crossed the boundary, a cascade of sensations engulfed her. The air shimmered with hues that danced between light and shadow, sound and silence, blending into an ethereal symphony. The ground beneath her feet was not solid, but a tapestry of luminous threads, each pulsing with a life force that resonated deep within her. The sky above was a swirling mosaic of cosmic weaves, patterns shifting continuously like the breath of the universe itself. Stars and constellations intertwined with strands of fabric, each thread a story, a life, a destiny. Elin felt herself both infinitesimal and integral to this grand design. From the shimmering depths emerged Meles, a figure woven from the very essence of this realm. Their form rippled and flowed like liquid silk, iridescent threads cascading in an endless dance. Their eyes, silver and serene, met Elin's with a warmth that both comforted and challenged. "Welcome, Threadwright," Meles intoned, their voice a melody that seemed to resonate within Elin's very soul. "You have crossed beyond the limits of mortal weaving into the loom beyond, where the fabric of existence is spun and held. Here, magic is not merely a tool or power, but the living essence of creation itself." Elin nodded, her voice caught somewhere between awe and curiosity. "I seek to understand, to protect, and to reshape the magic that binds my world. But I fear the forces that seek to unravel it." Meles smiled softly. "All weavers fear the fray, but it is through the fray that new patterns emerge. Come, see with your own eyes." Guided by Meles, Elin moved through the celestial tapestry. They passed countless threads, some vibrant and alive, others frayed and fading. Each thread represented a life, a magic, a possibility. The more Elin observed, the more she realized the vastness of the weave, how it extended beyond Loomhaven, beyond even her kingdom, touching realms and realities she had never imagined. At the heart of the tapestry lay the great Nexessa convergence point, where all threads met and intertwined. Here, Elin sensed a profound energy, the source of all fabric magic. As she reached out, her fingers brushed the threads, and visions flooded her mind. Histories of ancient Threadwrights, cosmic battles fought to maintain balance, and the fragile harmony that held the universe together. But with these visions came a warning, shadowy unraveling at the edges of the weave, a threat not just to her world, but to the entire cosmic order. Elin understood that her journey was far from over. It had only just begun. The Loom Guardians, silent and imposing, appeared beside her. Their veiled faces radiated ancient wisdom and silent judgment. They watched as Elin carefully wove a new thread into the nexus, a symbol of hope and renewal. The fabric shimmered and brightened, responding to her touch. "You carry a heavy burden, Elin," Meles said gently, "but also great potential. Remember, the weave is not fixed. It grows, changes, and evolves. Your choices will ripple through the strands of fate." Elin swallowed hard, feeling the weight of their words. "I will not let the darkness unravel what we have fought for. I will weave a future where magic is free and boundless." As the realm around her pulsed with renewed light, Elin prepared to return to Loomhaven, her mind swirling with newfound knowledge and uncharted possibilities. The cosmic weaves had revealed not only the depths of fabric magic, but also the infinite threads of destiny she must now navigate. Yet, as the portal back home shimmered before her, A whisper echoed through the threads, a subtle hint of challenges yet to come. Of forces lurking beyond even the loom beyond, waiting to test the very fabric of her resolve. With determination shining in her eyes, Elin stepped forward, ready to face whatever awaited her in the ever-changing tapestry of fate. Elin stood at its center, her fingers deftly guiding threads of shimmering light that danced and twisted around her palms. Each filament pulsed with a rhythm ancient and cosmic, a language of the universe itself woven into fabric. This was the culmination of her years of struggle, discovery, and growth, the final weave. Outside, the air was thick with anticipation. The kingdom had gathered here, drawn from every corner of the realm, tailors and mages alike, to witness the birth of a new era. The old guild houses, once bastions of rigid tradition, now sent representatives willing to listen and learn, their faces etched with cautious hope. Master Varin stood beside Lyra, his eyes reflecting the glow of Elin's work. The old mage's hands trembled slightly, not from age, but from the awe of seeing the threads of the loom of fate interlaced with their own fabric magic. Lyra's youthful excitement was palpable. She leaned forward, mesmerized by the living tapestry unfolding before her. "It's unlike anything I've ever seen," Lyra whispered, voice barely audible over the soft hum. Elin smiled, her focus unwavering. "This is the essence of balance," she said, voice steady but filled with emotion. The old magic and the cosmic threads intertwined, not to replace, but to enhance, to create a fabric resilient enough to adapt to the challenges ahead. The gathered crowd watched as the weave grew in complexity and beauty. The enchanted cloth shimmered with hues that shifted like liquid dawn, patterns flowing seamlessly into one another, symbolizing unity among diversity. From the simplest stitches to the grandest sigils, every element was alive, resonating with power and purpose. Yet, amidst the celebration, shadows of uncertainty lingered. Guild Ambassador Soren approached, his posture formal but his eyes searching. The tension between past rivalries and present necessity was tangible as he spoke. "Elin, your work is remarkable," he acknowledged, voice smooth yet guarded. "But the old order will not relinquish control easily. There are forces within and beyond our borders that will resist this new weave. How do you propose we face those challenges?" Elin met his gaze with unwavering resolve. "This weave is not just magic, it's a covenant. We will need unity, vigilance, and the courage to adapt. The fabric of our kingdom is stronger now because it is woven from many threads, age, valued, and vital. Together, we can face whatever comes." The council murmured in agreement, the air shifting from skepticism to tentative alliance. As the ceremony drew to a close, Elin stepped outside. The kingdom's artisans and mages gathered, their faces alight with joy and renewed purpose. Children wearing cloaks spun from the new weave laughed and danced, their garments shimmering in the sunlight like captured rainbows. Elin inhaled deeply, the scent of fresh fabric and enchanted dye filling her senses. Her journey from the dusty alleys of Loomhaven to the cosmic realms of the Loom of Fate had led to this moment. The threads of her legacy, of the Threadwrights, were no longer lost but vibrant and alive. Yet, as she gazed beyond the city's borders, a flicker of unease stirred within her. The cosmos held mysteries still unfolding, and the final weave was but the beginning of a new chapter. With her hands still tingling from the magic, Elin whispered a vow to the wind: "Whatever comes, the kingdom of threads will endure." And so, under the watchful eyes of stars and the steady beat of the loom, The fabric of a new dawn was woven one thread at a time, bound by hope, courage, and the unbreakable will to weave a better future. The sun dipped low, casting golden light across the Loom spire's polished floors. Elin retreated to her chambers, the weight of the day settling into a quiet exhaustion. Yet sleep eluded her as thoughts spun like threads in her mind. The new magic had breathed life into the kingdom, yes, but questions lingered. What of the cosmic forces she had glimpsed? The unseen watchers beyond the stars? Were they allies or harbingers of trials yet to come? Her fingers absent-mindedly traced the fabric of her cloak, now alive with the cosmic weave. This cloak was more than garment. It was a symbol, a shield, a promise. A soft knock interrupted her reverie. Elin Lyra's voice, hesitant yet eager. The apprentice stepped inside, eyes wide but determined. "I want to learn it, all of it. The cosmic threads, the ancient sigils, everything." Elin smiled warmly. "Then we have much work ahead. But first, rest. Tomorrow, the true weaving begins." And as night folded over the kingdom, the threads of destiny hummed quietly, waiting for the dawn. The final weave was complete, but the tapestry of the kingdom's future was still unfolding, each thread a story, each stitch a choice, woven into the endless fabric of time. Elin stood atop the gentle hill that overlooked the transformed kingdom, her eyes tracing the intricate patterns of life below. The alleys, where she had once scavenged scraps of enchanted cloth, now bustled with tailors and apprentices, their laughter and chatter weaving a lively symphony into the morning air. The oppressive shadows of the guild's old rule had lifted, replaced by a bright mosaic of collaboration and shared purpose. Elin's steps were slow but steady as she descended toward the heart of Loomhaven, the weight of years etched into the lines of her face and the silver streaks in her hair. Today was the day she would pass on the mantle that had defined her life, the legacy of the Threadwrights, the ancient creators of fabric magic nearly lost to time, a lineage she had fought to resurrect, to protect, and to transform. The grand hall of the central guild house had never seemed so alive. Representatives from every guild house, from the smallest cottages of fringe tailors to the largest weaving houses, gathered in a circle around the ancient spindle that rested on a pedestal at the room's center. The spindle was no ordinary artifact. It shimmered with the faint glow of 1,000 woven destinies, a symbol of the power to create, undo, and reshape the very fabric of their world. Mara stood beside Elin, her young apprentice's eyes wide with a mixture of awe and nervous resolve. Her patchwork robe rustled softly as she shifted her weight, fingers unconsciously tracing the edges of the garment that symbolized her diverse training and the new path she would forge. Elin reached out, her hands steady despite the tremor in her heart, and lifted the spindle. The threads within pulsed with a gentle light, as if responding to the moment's gravity. Mara, Elin's voice was steady, carrying the echoes of generations. The Threadwright's legacy is not merely a gift, but a responsibility. To weave magic with honor, to unweave lies and oppression, to nurture the harmony among all who wield fabric's power. Today, I entrust this to you. Mara's hands closed around the spindle, its warmth spreading through her fingers, filling her with a sense of purpose and the daunting weight of history. Around them, the crowd held their breath, the room thick with reverence and hope. After the ceremony, as the hall emptied and twilight settled, Elin found herself seated by the hearth with Avina, the old seamstress who had been her mentor in forgotten weaving arts. The fire's flickering glow cast dancing shadows across the walls, mirroring the memories swirling in Elin's mind. "It feels strange, doesn't it?" Avina murmured, her voice soft but tinged with pride. To let go after holding so tightly for so long. Elin nodded, staring into the flames. The threads of the past are woven into every choice. The cost has been high, but the future. She looked up, meeting Avina's wise eyes. The future is woven by those who dare to dream differently. Avina smiled, a mix of sadness and hope. Mara is ready, but the world she inherits will challenge her in ways we can only imagine. As night deepened, Elin returned to the quiet solace of her chambers, a bittersweet peace settling within her. The legacy was no longer hers alone. It belonged to the collective tapestry of the kingdom's unfolding story. In a small workshop lit by the pale moonlight, Mara sat surrounded by bolts of fabric and threads glowing faintly with latent magic. Her hands moved with tentative precision, experimenting with new weaves that blended the ancient techniques with innovations inspired by Elin's teachings. Each stitch carried the hopes and burdens of the Threadwrights. A sudden flicker of energy pulsed through the threads, and Mara's breath caught. The promise of creation, of change, surged within her. She knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, old factions resistant to change, unforeseen dangers lurking within the fabric of magic itself, but she was resolved. The last thread of Elin's era had been woven into Mara's hands, and the new tapestry of the kingdom was ready to be crafted. As dawn crept upon Loomhaven once more, the city stirred with renewed vigor. The legacy of the Threadwrights alive and humming in every stitch, every weave, every soul intertwined by the magic of fabric. The air was thick with the scents of dye vats and freshly cut cloth, mingled with the less pleasant odors of the crowded streets. Here, among the roar of merchants and the clatter of hooves on cobblestones, lived Elin, a street urchin whose life was stitched from scraps and shadows. Elin moved with a practiced ease through the bustling market alleys, her sharp eyes scanning the piles of discarded fabric and broken garments left behind by the wealthy guilds. Her fingers, nimble and quick, plucked at scraps that shimmered faintly with enchantment remnants of a magic she barely understood. She knew enough to avoid the watchful eyes of the guild enforcers. Their embroidered sigils marked them as keepers of the city's strict and secretive hierarchy. That afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows between the stalls, Elin's fingers brushed against something different. It was a torn fragment of cloth, heavier and softer than anything she had encountered before. The fabric seemed to pulse faintly, alive with a gentle glow that shifted in the dimming light. Intricate patterns wove through its surface, twisting and turning like living threads. Curiosity flared within her, mingling with a sudden, inexplicable sense of recognition. As she held the fragment close, a warmth spread through her palm, and the world around her seemed to soften and hum a distant melody threading through the noise of the marketplace. Elin's breath caught. She sensed something stirring inside her, a dormant magic awakening beneath her skin. Unbeknownst to her, eyes watched from the shadows. A figure cloaked in deep indigo, embroidered with silver threads, lingered near the edge of the alley, gaze fixed on the girl clutching the fragment. The guild watcher's lips curved into a faint, unreadable smile. The balance of power within Loomhaven was shifting, and this child, this street urchin, might just be the thread that could unravel it all. As night fell, the city's lights blinked on like scattered stars, illuminating the narrow streets and towering spires. Elin found refuge beneath a tattered cloth shelter, the fragment wrapped carefully in her thin cloak. Around her, whispers floated through the cool air, the murmurs of unrest among the tailor guilds, rumors of secret meetings and growing fears. Elin stared up at the sky, the weight of her discovery settling in her chest. The magic she felt was both terrifying and exhilarating. Somewhere deep within, a story long forgotten beckoned her forward, a legacy woven into the very fabric of the city. And as the first stars appeared, she knew her life was about to change forever. The world of Loomhaven, ruled by the guilds and their enchanted garments, was on the cusp of transformation. And at its heart was a girl who had only just begun to unravel the threads of the forgotten.